Welcome along, everybody, to our second Power Platform Community meeting. It is October 2021. We are fast approaching the time when, in theory, Santa Claus is going to avail us of himself, but it seems that there may be delays thanks to supply chain and containers, but not as though Santa uses those things. But let us focus on what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the Power Platform. I have started the webinar. We are recording. The sound check has been done. So if you do have any issues, please double check at your end. If you do have any questions after the event, best place is to contact me directly. My email is director@ciaapps.com. Also on the Twitters @directorcia. Now, we really try and pump as much information and value into these sessions, and hopefully we can get that across to you. But to make sure that you do get the most bang for your buck during your time, I would suggest that if you can focus on the content we have here, so that we can, again, make sure that we deliver the best value for you. So what we'll do is we'll have a little interaction, firstly, with the presenters, those who have been working behind the scenes to give you this information. We'll then bring you up to speed with the latest that's happening in the Power Platform. I suppose you can appreciate, like the Microsoft 365 environment, the Power Platform is moving ahead in leaps and bounds. So keeping up to date with all the changes that are coming is very important. And then for our tutorial, we'll look at creating a Power App. Our presenters will take you through. And then after that, we will dive into our Q&A. So without further ado, let me introduce our first presenter who'll be here today. Welcome, Andrew.
Thanks, Rob. It's nice to see a few familiar faces on the webinar, but for those that don't know me, I'm Andrew from Power Assist. I have worked with Microsoft products for about 20 years, and the last two are focused on the Power Platform. And when I receive like a form from Microsoft that asks me for my title, I respond with something quite official like Power Platform Solution Architect and Developer. But my customers call me, well, one in particular, a Power Platform guru. So what does this mean? I consult and work with IT professionals, business owners, managers, and employees to develop easy-to-use systems which help with business processes and solve business problems. So at the end of the day, this hopefully creates happy employees, happier managers and owners, and saves the business time and money. So that's it for me, but please don't hesitate to contact me on any of the platforms listed on the screen. And now it's over to Bill.
Thanks, Andrew. My name is Bill Mallett from Mallett Solutions, and you can see some details about myself and what my business is all about in terms of the Power Platform. But what I thought I would do, because you can read that for yourself, is just give you a quick update on something that I've been doing recently, because I think you guys might be interested in trying it for yourself. I've been updating Access Database to a Power App, but in the process, you've got to get the data cleaned up and some of the data items changed. And I've done that using Power BI, loading the Access Database into Power BI, setting up relationships. Within Power BI, you can change fields and add new fields and create them from other fields. And also you can do a whole lot of filtering and stuff. So I've done that all in Power BI and then extracted spreadsheets to send off to the customer to do their data cleaning with just the fields and records that they need to do it on. So I think it's well worth you trying that out for yourself if you get a chance. The Power BI desktop is available to you to use personally as a free trial version. So give that a try. Now I'll hand over to Yeoman for him to introduce himself.
Thanks, Bill. My name's Yeoman, and I'm a big proponent of modern workplace, moving away from traditional services into giving modern solutions so that we can do anything, anywhere, at any time. And I just see that we're doing things with the Power Platform to bringing that modern approach to solving problems in the workplace from top to bottom, so that managers can see more and add those who are from the receptionists right through to those managers can actually do less of the more mundane tasks in life. So I aim to add more knowledge to this area, and through that deliver more solutions in that respect to all my customers. So having said all this, I will hand over to Robert.
Thanks again, guys. And remember that you'll get a copy of the slides after the fact with all their contact details. So feel free to reach out to them directly to ask any questions that you may see here about what we're covering. Also, don't be afraid to contact the guys about any questions that you may have concerning the Power Platform as well. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. So the next part of our presentation here is around the updates to the Power Platform. And again, we'll let the guys work through these. We'll go through them one at a time. So the first one here is the Power licenses, Power Apps licenses prices have been halved. So let's hear a bit about that.
Well, I know Bill mentioned this last month, but it's actually on the 1st of October coming to fruition. While other Microsoft licenses have been going up, they've actually halved the Power Apps license. So a single user per app per month has gone from $10 down to $5. And if you wanted to run unlimited apps per user per month, that's gone from $40 down to $20. So the affordability and the value in, connecting users up to the app is really value. You can obtain these licenses through all the commercial channels, volume licensing through your CSP or directly from Microsoft, and all entitlements have remained unchanged, including the ability for users to run unlimited apps within portal apps, which is quite a key because it allows external parties to be able to come into the portal site and access the data. The next bit of news that I've got is some changes into the Power Automate desktop. The error messaging was quite poor, to be honest, that we were receiving on specific errors. For example, a license error or an environment error, updates, sign-in issues, problems fetching data or saving a flow. They've not always been easy to understand. So they've enabled the features of a more descriptive error messages, which is really great for the developer to try and capture and work out what the exact cause of the error was. They've also introduced some new Excel related actions. I'll just quickly, you can get an active cell in an Excel worksheet directly on your desktop, Power Automate desktop, get a column name in Excel, delete from Excel and find and replace cells in an existing Excel worksheet. And lastly, but not least, the screen resolution has changed. You can set the screen resolution action that provides the user with the option to select one of the available solutions on their machines during authoring, rather than the user having to manually provide the resolution values in the respective fields. This actually makes it a lot easier for the end user to use once you've recorded your desktop flows and run the processes. The third item is over for Bill to discuss.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm actually quite interested in the automated desktop, Power Automate desktop updates, because I've got an Excel flow that I'm using, so I'll have to have a closer look at that one. But my next news item's on the 21 new connectors. So this highlights the fact that Microsoft is continually adding new connectors, and it's worth taking a look at this link when you get a chance, because you never know, one of these 21 new ones might be something that you use, might access an app that you use or something that your businesses use. So I recommend you go into this link and take a look at what those new connectors are. So let's look at the next one then. Now, the next one is small in of itself, and that's that the Power BI app for Microsoft Teams is now automatically installed. So I'll just read briefly the exact wording. It says Power BI will be automatically installed for users in your organization when they use Power BI service in a web browser and have a Microsoft Teams license. So Power BI is automatically installed for use within Microsoft Teams. The reason I raise it is because this highlights the fact that Microsoft is continually making all these Power functions available within Teams. So they're not all automatically in there, but it's growing. And the importance of this, if you're looking after small businesses or yourself, is that many licenses are free when you use them within Microsoft Teams. So you can do a lot of things within Microsoft Teams that might otherwise have a license as long as you stick within the limitations. So very important to see that Microsoft is continuing to really build what we can do within Teams within the Power with using the Power Platform tools. So that's this one, and Yeoman I think's got the next two.
Thanks, Bill. My first news item here is to do with the best security practices for Power Apps. Unfortunately, in this age of modern technology, we do have to worry about the security of all of these new and wonderful features such as Power Apps. So what Microsoft is saying is that there are two ways that connections between components can be shared. One's explicitly shared, where the app end user must authenticate with, say, this SQL server, or the implicit shared, where the app developer's account is used to authenticate to the SQL server, and they define some connection choices where it's much more secure to use explicitly shared, so relying on the app end user to be authenticated, rather than having a single source of failure or possible breach when the app developers' accounts can actually be just used to do damage to the actual data that's being accessed through the Power App. So that's quite important when you're designing apps to make sure that you follow these simple rules to get the best security out of connecting with things like your SQL server. And the last news item is to do with Power Virtual Agents. There's a new way improvements that have been made since August with things like the exporting and importing of chatbots. Chatbots are becoming much more important because they're a way of actually providing assistance, providing solutions where you don't require necessary human intervention to answer questions, whereas a chatbot will take care of a lot of that for you. So it's very exciting to see that there's been some simple changes being made where certain components are auto added when you're creating a bot that you may forget, such as flows and some skills environments. But more importantly, it's the ability now that you can export and import chatbots. So you could have several different chatbots where you may just want to duplicate one to another and just change a few variables within each chatbot. And Microsoft have made it so much easier to do, which means that you can create better chatbots, make it easy to duplicate chatbots, and possibly one day maybe we can export your chatbots that you create in one tenant as a developer over to many of your customers' tenants. And that's the news for this webinar, and I'll hand back over to Robert.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. So remember that there's always lots of news happening. I encourage you, if you are out there listening along, to follow the guys on Twitter. Their contact details were mentioned earlier. And again, you'll get a copy of the slides so you can go in and review all of these links. Now, we are expecting lots more news to come with Microsoft Ignite, which is due in November. So please make sure that you do attend the webinars to get access to that latest information. Now, we are going to give you a bit of a tutorial here on creating a Power App. And if you do have any questions, please type them into the chat. I'll do my best to answer them for you directly or pause the presenter to address those. So you've got that opportunity as well. But since we are ready to go, Andrew, do you want to take us away and show us how to create a Power App?
Certainly, Robert. So let me just share this screen. So for the people that attended last month, you would have seen where I created a Microsoft form, which I've currently got on the screen, ran a Power Automate flow, and the data went into our SharePoint list. So today I'm going to use the same SharePoint list, but rather than getting the data from a Microsoft form, I'm going to get it from an app created in the Power Apps platform. Now, when I open up the Power Apps platform, I have the option to create apps that are blank. So that's basically a blank screen where I can start putting controls onto that screen, or I have the option to start Power Apps using the data from Dataverse, SharePoint, Excel Online, or any other data connector that you see fit to connect to. Now, the one thing to remember with Power Apps is basically it's what you see is what you get. What we put on the screen will basically be what the user will see. So to begin with, I'm going to start to get our data from the SharePoint list. So I'm going to select the SharePoint option here. It loads up and then wants to make my connection. So once again, I'm not connecting to Dataverse today, over to SharePoint. It connects to my sites, my SharePoint sites, and then I choose the site which I want, which if I go back over here, you can see it's the Contoso site. So let's select that one. And then the employee data SharePoint list where we're going to get our data from. And let's not forget to press this little connect button down the bottom. SharePoint now goes, Power Apps now goes away and talks to SharePoint and gathers the data from the table. And using a wizard, it loads up basically and creates for me a few screens. So I've got my browse screen listed here, a detail screen, and an edit screen. And as you can see, each of the screens have got controls already populated. And that population has occurred from, if I go back to my SharePoint list, basically the fields that I've got in my SharePoint table here. So let's have a look at the browse screen and some of the controls that you can see. Well, the first thing that you can see is the gallery here. So the gallery is listing all of the items that is in the list and displaying it in a sequential order. We've got a label here, just basically as a header. And then we've got some icons, a refresh, a sort, and a new icon. Now they're basically icons that have been placed onto the screen. And as you can see, the code up here is what is done when those icons are pressed. So let's, you know, the wizard's done a great job, but, you know, I sort of want to do a bit of formatting. So, you know, rather than have the name underneath the title, let's bring the name up next to the title. And the age that we can see here, well, nobody sort of knows what that is. So let's give that a bit of a format and a bit of a label. Bring that over to here, and let's find a connector. So let's just add a text label there, and let's just make that. Let's just make that the H. And while I'm doing that, and let's move that into our gallery, top of the gallery, which is why we are not seeing that as I expect it to. So let's add that back there. So as you can see, now that I've put it into the gallery, you can see it occurring on each field. It's picking up this display name. We just want to have it as the as a header of age. Shrink it up a bit. and place it next to the age. So look, I could do a bit more formatting, but you can sort of get the gist of how this is going to look. I just want to move that age and make that a slightly bigger.
So, Andrew, just in summary, what you're doing here is you've started with the default fields from a SharePoint list, and they've been brought onto your Power App basically by just a simple connection. Then what you've been able to do now is you've been able to use this canvas that you're working on, and you can now adjust the look and feel of what's displayed in the Power App by, again, simply dragging and dropping a number of standard fields, text, and all of that onto that canvas and making it look the way you want. So again, you've done no programming here. You've just basically done a connection to a data source and then dragged and dropped the information.
100%, and like I get to choose anything from my controls here. So, for example, I'm not limited to text. I can, add. I won't put it in the gallery, but I can just add some text there and pick up the like a user's image from. I'm just going to use the current user's image there, which it picks up from the ADD. So there I've put an image straight on. I don't want to put it in the gallery, so I'll just move the gallery up there. And if I run that, you can see the list. I'm sorry, I have moved the gallery on top of my search. I can run that. You can see the gallery there, and I can click and add another title straight in. And there it goes, it appears in the gallery. And we can, do a bit of formatting simply like as we add records. We want to add, let's say, a scroll bar and navigation just to make it a bit better. And away it goes. We're off to the races. Now, if I have a look at the search here, you'll notice that when I start typing Rebecca, it doesn't search. And well, it does search, but it doesn't find anything. That's because by default, the search is on my title. So if you have a look where I go miss, it picks up both Beth and Rebecca. Now, that's quite easy to change. So they call it a low-code system because basically I can click on the search item here, and it will show, well, there's nothing there, but on click, I can change the what that search is doing from searching on the title to searching on the name. Just can't find where that has come up. So, I mean, another thing, we can add a button. Like these buttons up here are great for mobiles and whatever, but if you're sort of writing an app for an older age demographic, you can just add a normal sort of button onto the system.
Andrew, I was just looking at your system. You just mentioned mobile. Does that mean this app will run on a mobile, or do you have to do something special to do that?
No, you don't have to do anything special. When I save and publish this app will be able to run on a mobile, on a tablet, through the browser, or directly on someone's computer. So I'm just going to create that add button there, and I can grab the add there, add it directly behind this button. And now I have a button here that I can use to add employee data. We also get the option of clicking on one of the users, and we can modify that user or simply delete the user. So as I've demonstrated there, look, it's been a quick demonstration, but you can see how easy it's, what I basically put onto the canvas is what the user will see. And with a little bit of code behind each of the controls, you can manipulate what happens to the end user.
So a quick question, Andrew. When people are starting out, would you be recommending they basically don't do what you've done just there, keep it very simple, add one component at every stage, and then test it as they go along? And the second question is, do you need to save it? Is it saving in the background, or do you have to push a save button to make sure you don't lose any of the work you've just done?
You do have to save it. So if I try and leave the browser now, it will prompt me that my changes have not been saved. So there is the save option. So here you can give the application a name, and also for it to become live and for users to access it, you have to enable it in your environment. You need to share it to users and enable and publish it to the environment. Without doing that, our users will not see any changes that you've made to the application. To begin with, it's great to use the wizard, and I recommend that you go off and have a look at the wizard, because it shows you plenty of the code that are behind the buttons. But then as you get more familiar, it's nice just to start with a blank canvas and put the things on and connect the data and have that control of what on your creative side, basically. So here is an application that the crew and I have been working on, a leave request application. And you can sort of see a gallery here, a bit more formatted and nicely displayed, the user, and being able to sort of select dates, with the date controls. And let me just select a couple of dates, some drop downs where this data is being, this app is actually talking to Dataverse. So this data is being selected from our Dataverse tables. It's nice and simple.
So in reality here, you haven't had to go in and write any special code. You've basically used control items, be the date lookup, be the drop down, from what Microsoft provides, and then hook that basically to a data source. And again, maybe there's a little bit of coding, like you said, to change the name or whatever, but there's no major coding required to get a form like this working.
Literally drag and drop those controls onto it, connect it to the data, and maybe one line of code to get it to, for example, one line of code that I did was until all of these fields, the submit button was disabled, and now I can press it. And then easily show, that we've received the application and that there was no errors.
So in today's environment with customers, where is the real business benefit to investing in doing something like this rather than, using a traditional method? What do you see as the targeted business benefit and the processes it could replace?
Well, in the past, application development has been expensive and it's been time consuming. As you saw back here, I created the webinar test app, within 15 minutes. So you can sit down with the business managers and the teams, and just on a piece of paper, you can sort of write and show them how a screen's going to look and feel, what it wants to do. And, in a short period of time, you can go off in a day or two, create a test environment that they can actually log in and use and look at in a very short period of time. And it's all set up and within the customer's tenant. So all security is is looked after by their IT team and the security that they've set up within their tenant. So basically, it's quick, it's easy to explain and show, and it's very cost effective.
I think also too, probably one of the benefits is the maintenance side of it as well. I mean, many people have applications that have been developed by a third party, and maybe that third party moves on or is unavailable. So having the capability of the application inside their own Microsoft 365 environment being something that, they can modify, or they can bring in somebody who is familiar with the platform, but it means that they effectively own the app themselves. They control it, they manage it, they can improve it. And as you've shown here, they don't necessarily need to be a coding style person or developer to work with that application. And I think probably you would agree that you don't need to tackle, major projects. Initially, you can just look at it, an option to reduce some manual process or paperwork and digitize that. So I think that's where a lot of the benefits would lie, if you agree with that.
Well, as what Bill said, he's looking at Excel spreadsheets and Access databases that companies are using on a day-to-day basis, and turning them into just short little power apps, but giving the employees the ability to access it on their mobile phones, away from their desk or on a tablet. And what they're seeing on their tablet and phones is exactly the same as what they're seeing on their computers. So it creates the uniform right across the board.
Excellent. All right. Well, there's a lot of great information there. Is there anything else that you're going to show us, or?
No, that's it for today. We'll probably do a more advanced one a bit later on. A bit further down the track.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for that, Andrew. Now, remember, if you do have any questions, please type them into the chat. And also, if you do have any follow-up questions, that Andrew would be more than happy to answer for you. But I think the next presenter here is going to be Bill. So let me turn it over to Bill so that he can share his screen and get ready to do it from his end. So remember, like I said, we're happy to take any questions from you. Like I said, now just type them into the chat. We'll do our best to answer them as we can. And after the event, please feel free to contact the guys directly. So Bill, I think you're next up.
Can you hear me, Rob?
We can certainly hear you, and we can certainly see you. So take it away.
Happened at once. So I'm sharing my Power Apps screen. You'll notice it is slightly different to Andrew's because this is where we've done our leave request work, and we've done it inside a solution. And what that allows you to do is actually export the solution so that you can import it into other environments. But all the controls and processes are still the same. So what I'm going to do is show you what we can do with our leave request record. Andrew showed you an app that he developed for the person to use to submit their requests, see what their requests are. But what about the admin person or the manager? They want to see everything. They would like to be able to edit stuff if things aren't quite right, perhaps, rather than going through some roundabout process with the user to get things right. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create an admin app for the person with a slightly different process to what Andrew does, because these are called model-driven apps. So if I click on New App here, and what Andrew did was called a Canvas app, what we're going to do now is a model-driven app. So I open that up, and I'm going to use the Modern App Designer because it's easier to use and understand. We hit Create. I'll give it a name. So Webinar Leave Request Admin. Okay, I could give it a description too for people to see if they're looking for the app and wondering what it does. I hit Create, and we just wait for it to do its little thing in the background to get our environment ready for us. And what it'll first come up with is our editing environment with a blank page. So the first thing to do is add our page. And what we want to do is base it on a table, our leave request table, like Andrew would have done with his custom one. So let me do a search because there's lots of tables available to us. So search on leave, there it is, leave request table. So if I add that, after a short period of time, app. It's ready, even quicker than Andrew's, more or less. And you can see here in this app, leave requests, that's the record we're dealing with. It's got a view of all the different leave requests that are in there at the moment. This screen's a little bit bunched up because it's in the editing environment and I've expanded it so you can see it. But just quickly to show you, this is in a responses format. If I click on desktop, you can see a view. You won't be able to read it very well, a bit of view of what it would look like on a desktop. But you'll notice in here, there's I can show you what it looks like on a tablet or a phone as well. So you can see and have a look at how your app's going to appear on those different form factors. And what has our app given us already without anything? A bit like Andrew's, if I want to edit one of these, if I click out here, you'll notice that an edit function comes up. So I click on edit and I get a form that allows me to edit the record. So that's already there for me. Now, what about if I want to add a new one? We'll notice there's a new button here. If I click on new, I'll get the blank form to add a new one. And the owner, which is who we're doing the leave request for, appears up here on the right. And so you can see that basically we've already got an admin app here based on our record, and it was all that easy. But you'll also notice there's lots of other functions that are already potentially available there for us to use. And so they're all built in as well. But what happens if we want things to look slightly differently or whatever? So, you know, different orders, you want to only see Alan's perhaps or other information. Well, I'm going to pass it over to Jung after I save, like Andrew did. Saved it, and you'll notice here that there's a publish button as well. So I need to publish so that it becomes available for people. But because it's within our solution and Human has access to that solution, he'll be able to come in and edit this app and update it so that perhaps it's even more useful than it already is. So, Yeoman, if you'd like to take over as I get out of this app and allow you to...
So as Yeoman's sharing his screen and jumping in to show us the next component, Bill, what would you say is the use case for the model-driven app versus the Canvas app? Is there any particular, time when one is better than the other? I mean, why would you choose one over the other? What's your experience been?
Yeah, so I think you can probably see from the app that Andrew built and the model-driven app that if you're building something for somebody to personally use, it's for them to enter data or to get their part of a individual job done, like entering my leave or something like that, then the custom-driven app is definitely going to be the thing that you want to look to. But if you're looking for an admin task, the traditional admin task where you're trying to get around, now I've developed a simple one here for the leave requests, but the one I'm working on personally has got a lot of complicated relationships and all that kind of thing. The model-driven app automatically understands all those relationships between the different records. And I can choose, I've chosen 4 different records for my model-driven app there, but it's still as simple to produce as what was just done then. It just simply builds that thing and allows me to edit all those different things immediately. And I can get in there and start creating views and stuff like Yeoman's going to be able to show you the extra things you can add. The disadvantage is it's a reasonably set format. So if you're trying to do something a little bit fancy or make it look prettier, then you probably need to go to the custom-driven app. But the good news is Microsoft has already started putting the two together. So you can already, within a model-driven app, create custom screens using the same builder that Andrew just used. They don't quite interact with each other as nicely as what you might want yet, but you can already start doing that, and Microsoft is working hard to bring the two together so there will actually be no difference. You'll start with one, but you'll be able to use the other all combined together.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's a good takeaway for people, there are those 2 options that Andrew and Bill have shown us. So keep that in mind. Keep any questions coming through there. And I think now Yeoman's going to give us a bit of a further extension on what Bill built for us initially. So over to Yeoman.
Thanks, Robert. So yes, Bill, in his very quick time, has created a new model-driven app for us to actually use. Now, the most important thing about anything to do with the apps, both the model-driven and the Canvas apps, is they both take in information. But more also important is what can we do with the information? What can admins do with it, and what other things you can display with. So, for instance, well, this is getting sorted. Just a question, Bill, while I'm getting this sorted. How long did it really take to set up the actual data to be captured, and how important is that to actually make all of this work?
Yeah, so it is really important, because obviously the building of the app was really easy. And if look, do the 3 dots, Yeoman.
Yeah.
It's
flying up.
I know it's a.
Oh, it's gone.
I'll just point you where to get in.
Somebody
Click on
didn't
the 3
sacrifice
dots.
to the gods of demos
I
this morning.
certainly
Click on the 3 dots.
Bear with us.
And
Technical difficulties.
options,
I'm sure we can work it.
Yeah.
Click on the arrow for edit. Yeah, and go into edit in preview. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yep. The
So about the data being important. Yeah, about how important is the data to actually making all this work?
So the data is actually the key. And when I say the data, really it's the business process that you need to understand, because you want to create data that matches the business process, and then the app will do exactly what the business needs it to do. So it is important to get the data right. And as Yeoman will probably show you here, some of the aspects of how you set up the data has an impact on how the app actually looks. And you actually go to the data to change some of this stuff, not the app itself. So yep. I'll leave Yeoman to show you how that kind of works.
Thank you, Bill. So as you can see here, this is the data that you saw from when Bill drew up this app. So this data is all being captured in the Dataverse table. And so all of these fields that you see here, we all defined earlier. So it's always very important to actually know what to do with the data. So you can see that there's various names, there's dates, there's types. Just like those who have used to Excel, everything, even right now in this app, is able to be sorted. So I can sort it by name, I can sort it by the status, and that becomes very important because, well, everyone just likes to see it's something to do with everything sorted by approved, pending, or rejected, or whatever. The other thing you can do is you can use a search to actually look for any specific data. Obviously not Alan, but okay. So otherwise, you can use the filter button. So with the filter button, you can actually define things. So if you want to say use any of these fields that you see in that table. So let's just say leave status equals, and we only want to see those that are in pending, because we need to actually do something about it. Then you can see it's all sorted by what's been pending. And you can easily change this filter. It's really easy once you're in this app, as you can see. So it's almost like you're doing things with Excel. You can actually choose whatever you want and actually create these filters. So probably isn't nothing up until the 7th, but anyway. But you get the general idea that this is what you can actually do right here in this view within the app. It's not very sexy, but it actually is easy able to be found when you do things like sorting or filtering. So the other thing you can actually do is you can actually create a chart. You see the show chart button? You can actually create a chart. So what you can actually do from here is create a chart like this. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So if we go and edit this. So where was I going? It's on new leave request. Oh boy. Okay. Demo gods have not been helpful. So come back. Go back. We'll go back. And we'll go and pick up the solution again. It's quite easy to get back to where we came from. So the good thing about doing things in the cloud platform is you can easily navigate and you can actually do things like, here I am straight back at the app. So I'm just going to add a chart. So I'm just going to edit this. And not here, I pressed the wrong button again, did I? So what I should be able to do is I should be able to create a chart. And
Ewan, while you're getting there, I noticed there's a whole lot of letters down the bottom. What are they for?
Those letters down the bottom, you can actually do another form of sorting. So you can actually click on these buttons and you can actually sort by, let's say, if you define it, you can say sort by all applications made by anyone with the surname of A or B or C or whatever. So let's see. I can't find the charts. Okay. Oh dear. It's one that I actually created earlier.
Yeah.
So
while Yeoman's looking for the charts, I sort of look at the model-driven app as a back-end way that managers would sort of be able to go back and look at the data, look at the physical data, where the Canvas app, I like the Canvas app because it brings out my creative side, where I can, sort of develop for the end user, basically for the employees, and making the processes easier for them in a way that basically looks good on the screen. So you're probably looking at the model-driven app saying, Jesus, as the word Yeoman said, it's not very sexy, but it's really efficient and pretty much like Excel. Yeah, pretty much like Excel, where you can, view and modify the data quite easily.
So yeah, so I found where the charts are because it turned in. I went to the classic view. So there are two views of doing some of this stuff because Microsoft is pushing hard to make sure that we look at it from a more modern view. But certain things I just find it easy to do in the classic view. But that's just the way that I've come up owning this Power Platform. So in here, I can create a new chart. So there's many different chart types. And from columns to bars to whatever. I chose pie because it just looks a bit easier because we want to see basically what sort of requests that we want to break down by the various parts of the pie, so we can get a good overview of what percentage of leave is actually approved or pending or even rejected. So we can select the field, which is just our leave type, which is approved, pending, all. And the other thing we'll do is we'll say the status, which is whether it's approved or pending. And there you go. Instantly, the chart results appear. So within the space of a few minutes, even with my fiffle faffle around, we have a brand new chart, as you can see right here. So that when we go to save and close and go back to here and show our chart, you will see under here that there was a new chart coming. So we'll just refresh. But what will happen is within a short space of time, you will see that new chart actually appear in the Power Apps. Now, that's not the end of all that they can do with the data. You can create charts and reports within the Power Apps itself. But don't forget, that there's another part of the Power Platform that we haven't touched on so far, and that's Power BI. And Power BI is all about creating dashboards and reports. So you can even make even better reports and even better reporting mechanisms via Power BI. Now, we won't show that today, but I'm pretty sure that we will demonstrate the power of Power BI working with Power Apps and other parts of the Power Platform in the future. So I'll leave you with that thought, that we can actually make very quick and easy reports through even within the app, but also using Power BI, so that you actually get some useful information out from all the data that's been gathered by something as simple as leave requests, or it could be any other Power App that you create. So I'll hand back to Robert, who will share with you all the key takeaways of everything that we have shown and demonstrated in this webinar.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Showman. Again, please appreciate people that there are obviously some challenges and some additional pressure on when you do have to present in front of an audience. So again, if you do have any specific questions that you may wish to ask Yeoman or Bill or Andrew on anything that they have covered previously or in the session, please by all means contact them directly. Again, we'll be back with another presentation. And if you do wish to see something specific or to dive into something in more detail you've seen maybe in the next webinar, again, please let us know. So some major takeaways, hopefully from today, to summarize things, is that the Power Platform is a way to obviously connect or collect data. So you can collect it using a spreadsheet. You can collect it basically using an Excel spreadsheet, but putting it into something like the Power Platform is going to give you the ability to do the customizations and also display it on mobile devices and so on. So it's a great method of doing that. Remember that really creating a Canvas or a model-driven app is pretty easy. We didn't have to do any code. We just followed through a number of steps to get it started, and then we could customize it as we needed. One of the big things here is to remember to save. So again, just because we're doing it in the cloud doesn't mean you don't need to save things. And many of the guys will tell you that one of the most important things is to think about your data way before you start designing all this. So what fields do you need? How's it going to look? How's it going to be presented? All of that sort of stuff. Have a good think about how your data is going to be structured, because it's much easier to make those changes early on in the piece rather than going, oops, you know what? I need to add this field and then try and squeeze all that in. We've always got the visual effects of our charts. They're always great for managers and for summarizing reports, as we have in Excel, Power BI, and so on. So make sure that you are aware that those are available to you as well. And the idea here is all of this, even though it is technical, is aimed at solving business problems. So again, bring a business problem to the table and use these tools to solve that problem. It's very easy as technical people to get lost in the technicalities and the gee whiz factor and doing all this sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, we really want to make life easier for the business and for ourselves. And really, that's where the Power Platform shines. Now, importantly, hopefully you've been able to see that if you wanted to start this today, all you would need to do is go into your Microsoft 365, locate the Power Apps button or icon, press that, and you can now launch into creating your own Power App. And you can do it without any code. You can put it in trial mode and, again, look at understanding how powerful this platform is and what it can do to solve your business. So you don't need to buy any code necessarily. There's lots of wizards, there's lots of help out there, and the recommendation, I think, is just largely to dive in and start using it to get a feel for it. So again, we'll give you access to all of these slides after the fact. All those links are available, but there are some training days coming up that we would recommend for you to have a look at if you're interested in learning more. There's also a fundamentals learning path. And again, I think that it's very good that people look at passing the PL 900, which is the entry certification exam for the Power Platform. So certainly encourage you if you want to go down that sort of path in your learning. Now, we have created a community, and that community you can join at www.ciopspatron.com. So you can sign up to that and you can join us in the Power Platform community. In there, we're trying to build a maker environment where people can come in, share ideas and ask questions and learn. And the guys will be in there helping and also contributing and building projects. So the one we're working on at the moment, for example, is the leave request. And you can see that in the demos that they are presenting. So we encourage you to get involved in that, and also note there is a Patreon community for the technical side of Microsoft 365 if you did want to get involved with that as well. So I'd encourage you to go and have a look at that URL. I'll take a minute to see if there are any particular questions. We've got a couple of minutes before the scheduled end. Again, thanks to those who have raised comments and again shown some appreciation for the demos the guys have done, because there is a large investment in time to make sure all of this is able to be presented for you directly, so that you're getting that across. Now, again, what we want to hear from people is, what do you want to see? We're trying to look at building things stage by stage each month, so you can refer to that. Are there specific things? If it was me, I'd love to see the virtual chat bots and all those sort of things. I reckon they're super cool, but we're driven by basically what you guys would like to see. Again, the plan is to be back again next month with the same sort of news, updates, and also a demo. So if you do want to get involved and you do want to see something particular, by all means, reach out to any of us and make sure that can happen. All right, well, I don't see any other questions in the queue here. So what I'm going to do here is I will basically thank everybody for attending. We will put the recording up on YouTube so you can take advantage of it. Review anything that you've seen here. And again, don't be basically afraid to reach out to the guys. You'll get a copy registered. You'll get a copy of the slide deck sent out to you in emails, and I'll also post that up on the web so it can be available, and you can share that. Feel free to share that with others out there via the link that you will receive here. All right, well, I don't see any other major questions coming through. Again, I will take the opportunity to thank the guys for the effort, the time they've put in showing this and the learning process they're going through with sharing that information with you. And also to everybody who attended the session, please share this information with others and invite others to attend our sessions. We're looking to build this up into a community of people who are interested in using the Power Platform to solve business problems. So with that, I will thank everybody for attending, and I will stop the recording.